Hello, everyone. This is Dave Paulsen, head men's basketball coach at George Mason University, for episode 9 of our Distancing Dialogues. Happy to be joined today by Dale Wellman, national championship winning coach at Nebraska Wesleyan, and a recent beard advocate during the pandemic. Dale, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot for having me, DP. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while. Dale was an assistant with me for 2 years at Williams, and since then has gone on to great things. Again, just to review, and we're going to talk about Dale's background. This was started to fill the void in conversations and discussions that we would normally have in the off season, but also to try to give back to communities in need. Certainly during the pandemic, certainly with what's going on in our country. So everyone that watches, if you find something of value, would love for you to just give to an organization locally, nationally, whatever it might be. This week I'm going to give again to Coaches Coalition for Progress, a group of coaches that have come together to try to address inequity across our society and our country, and how coaches can attack it. So Dale, so a little bit about your background. So you played at the University of the South, Sewanee, and then take us through kind of your early positions in coaching prior to that earth-shattering experience of getting the chance to work with DP.
Yeah, well, I actually, after I graduated from Sewanee, I had planned on going into architectural history. I was going to be an architectural historian, and went to grad school at University of Georgia, majoring in historic preservation, and really kind of missed the competition, being around a team. And fortunately, kind of working with my head coach, Joe Tony at Sewanee, found out there was an opening at Kenyon College. And I had been out of college for 2 years, but I jumped on the opportunity to go to Kenyon and had a great opportunity there to kind of learn what it was like to recruit kind of the high-end academics at Kenyon. And I was there a year, and then Dave Kunka, who was the head coach, left. And it was a great opportunity for me to kind of see what was out there. So I went to kind of dumb luck. I emailed a whole bunch of coaches, and Coach Murphy at Hamilton, he probably has no idea who was at Hamilton, probably has no idea that he did this for me. Told me that down the road at Union College, Bob Montana had openings at Union College, and I just happened to email Bob Montana, and he had 2 openings, and the rest is history. And that's actually where you may not even know it. That's where I first shook your hand and met you when I was an assistant at Union, and we played against you guys. And was there for 2 years, and had the great opportunity to come back home. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky originally, and worked for Travis Ford at Eastern Kentucky University. I just kind of got to know him doing camps back home in the summertime. We had a great year with Travis at the helm, and went to the NCAA tournament, lost to Kentucky in a really, really good game, a 15-2 seeded game. Travis ended up going to UMass, and I stuck around and worked for Jeff Neubauer at Eastern Kentucky for 1 more year. And then, between getting to know Leffler a little bit when he was at Hamilton and I was at Union, and he had just left to take the Stevens job, and the fact that you knew Ted Hotaling pretty well, had the opportunity to, fulfill my dreams and go work for Dave Paulsen.
Yeah. The lifelong dream for everyone. What's an interesting track and background, because one of the things, I think especially for young coaches, the education and immersion in a lot of different systems and style. You spent 2 years with me, and then got the Alfred head coaching job, spent 6 years there, and then just completed your 6th year at Nebraska Wesleyan. All right?
6th year, you got it. Yep.
Okay. So interestingly, and I don't know the coach you work for at Kenyon, and I'd forgotten that you had been in an administrative capacity with both Travis Ford and Jeff Neubauer. So I'd forgotten about Travis. So, certainly the first time I met you, you were an assistant at Union. Bob Montana ran in my opinion, an offensive system, at least when he initially started with it, that was really had some funky reads, some different looks, some different actions. It took a couple of years, and I will say this in case Bob clues in. We knew all the codes before I hired you. Play smart, play together, whatever it might be, signal different actions. I always thought that was good trip, I think, which I instituted. But an interesting way of coaching offense, thinking about offense. Obviously, Jeff Neubauer came from the John Beeline tree, and at least at that point was running two-guard offense. And I remember I don't know if you remember, your first week on the job at Williams, I gave you like 3 stacks of diagram sheets and like diagram everything in Union's offense and diagram everything in Neubauer's offense. And I still got those somewhere. Now, I don't know where
I have those too. I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm really impressed that you remember that. But yeah, no, I have those as well.
And it was really interesting. And then, as what often happens, and my assistants, if they're watching this, will say, oh yeah, coach had me do this project on this team. Now we have access to synergy and more film. And I love to study other teams. And then, we'll adapt, but probably not adopt. We'll adapt some of the things. So certainly how we play offense now, totally different than how we played when you were with me at Williams. So interestingly, okay, Bob Montana, Jeff Neubauer, Dave Paulsen, whose offensive system do you use? None of the above, right?
Now, I'll say this. When I went to Bob, and I had always kind of been an offensive-minded guy, but I was still young in coaching, and what he was doing there at Union kind of blew my mind. I didn't realize that offense could kind of flow that way, and I thought it was really a unique way to coach offense, and that was really good. Then I obviously had the opportunity to work with Neubauer, who I just think is a great offensive mind, and really enjoyed that. And then it came to work for you, and it was really good. I think probably what we do offensively is kind of a mix. Neubauer ran 2-guard, but he ran it into Princeton, and that's when the shot clock was a little longer. So a lot of the initial Princeton stuff that I really learned to use was under Neubauer, and Ted Hotelling was on that staff, who had just come from Yale, so he had always had the Princeton scouts, and I think somebody back then was running Princeton too, maybe Columbia was at the time. And I would sit down and talk with Ted. And then actually when I came for you, I actually had the Con College scout, and I really enjoyed watching the Con College scout back then because Tom would run Princeton stuff. And it was just kind of picking up little things. I think I've stolen from everyone, you and Bob and Jeff and Tom probably doesn't even realize it. And then I think a big thing too is when I was at Eastern Kentucky, Jimmy Tillett was the head coach at Sanford, and they were in the Ohio Valley Conference. And I've never met Coach Tillett, but I have so many of his videos and DVDs in my office because I love the way that they ran Princeton. They were so tough and so hard-nosed. In fact, one of the things I'm going to talk about later on is how we post up out of Princeton, and Sanford was so good at posting up, and I always remembered that. And so it's just kind of, like you said, kind of stealing from all the good coaches that you're exposed to.
So which is great. And when you mentioned Jimmy Tillett, who I've never met, but do you listen to the Basketball Immersion podcast?
I don't. No.
So that would be, and I know you said you had the choice of growing the beard or getting on the elliptical. So if you get on the elliptical and you put your AirPods in and listen to Basketball Immersion podcast, phenomenal. Okay. And Jimmy Tillett was on. I remember listening while this is, during the season, and I was on the elliptical. And he's coaching high school basketball, I think, in New Orleans.
Oh, is it really? Wow.
Yeah, and it just fascinating way to think about the game, to look at the game, which is really neat. Now, at one point, though, Dale, was it at Alfred you were playing 150 miles an hour? Is that right?
Well, when I first got to Alfred, we ran 2-guard. And, we were scoring probably in the, 60s, mid-60s. I don't remember what it was. And I love that offense. I love the two-guard offense, and we kept going up and up. And I inherited Alfred. They won 2 games here before I got there. We went 8, we went 11, we went 15, and then we went back down a year. And it was honestly maybe the best thing that's ever happened in my career, where I really sat back and was like, why do I do all the things that I do? And it allowed me to go out and talk to a whole bunch of coaches. And I wanted to coach my personality, and my personality was like, let's play faster, let's play faster, let's play faster. So that last year at Alfred, yeah, we put in, I mean, it wasn't Grinnell, but it was let's play fast. It was watching a lot of, 1989 Loyola Marymount, putting in the, number break, those sorts of things. And we really didn't get past the secondary then. And I didn't teach Princeton or two-guard at all that year. Everything was in transition, maybe a little dribble drive motion at the end, but we were just, flying around, shooting, and playing a lot of guys. And then when I came to Nebraska Wesleyan, I wanted to get back to kind of the Princeton two-guard a little bit, but I still wanted to play fast. So we kind of incorporated playing fast. And since we've been here the 6 years, we've averaged over 90 5 of the 6 years. And we haven't pressed. Like we actually run a zone. So we try to, again, kind of incorporate some different things and put them all together.
Well, I'd be interested. So it is really fascinating, the evolution, and I've done the same, or maybe not to the same extremes that you've gone to, but you have to coach your personnel. You got to coach to your personality. You got to coach to what wins in your league. And then obviously trends in the game, have changed, evolved, or you pick up a wrinkle here from an NBA game or an NBA set or European actions, and how can we institute them? I would be interested in your presentation. I mean, are you going to talk about your running game at all?
Not really. It's some things, and it's interesting. If you'll watch some of the clips, and you won't be like, well, this is a team that scores, that scores 100 points. It doesn't look that way, but I think what you'll see in a lot of the clips is we just try to be really efficient. So even if we walk the ball up the court within our Princeton, we don't have any false motion or anything like that. But I think you're looking a lot of times we're scoring in 1 or 2 passes, just with what we're trying to do. So it's not, you watch us and it doesn't look like they're playing too fast, but we try to be ultra efficient. And we try to get shots early, 1 or 2 passes, try to shoot it before we turn it over. And you're right. We have evolved, in 2016, we had a good team, went to national tournament. We had Jocelyn's, player of the year, on our team. We shot 1,100 threes in, 30 games. This past year we had 29 games and we shot 780, running the exact same offense, but just kind of tweaking it to fit our personnel, which is what you talked about.
Absolutely. All right. So what we'll do now is just have you share your screen, and this gets more into the X's and O's component. I think it's always good though when you hear like, how did your system evolve? What led to it? And yeah, we'll talk a little bit about what you emphasize within your Princeton attack.
Sure. I'm going to keep it on this screen instead of making it full screen, just because I feel like synergy can kind of go in and out a little bit when it's bigger. So, within our Princeton, one thing that we really, and it went back to Jimmy Tillett, I really wanted to start posting up our guys, all our guys, 1 through 5. And I think you'll see, people talk about positionless basketball all the time. And you'll see on our, and we truly believe that. You'll see on a lot of our clips, the guy who's throwing the pass, the very next time down the court, he might be out on the perimeter. When we teach our Princeton, everyone learns all 5 positions. We try to play pretty much our guys are 6'4" through 6'7", kind of interchangeable. We like kind of tall, longer guys, not just for offense, but we run in the zone on defense. But you'll kind of see the positionless basketball, but we wanted to post everyone up. And I think our guys have really bought into that. They love it in practice. They like doing it against their teammates. They love going against the pad. So, once we did that, we were like, well, how do we teach kind of posting up out of Princeton, especially from the perimeter guys? So, Jimmy Tillett, they would a lot of times they would what we call, dribble at and a punch cut, and they throw their leg back and post up hard. And we do it some different ways. So I just wanted to kind of go over a few things. And again, this is what we emphasize. And it's one of the reasons I think we've been able to shoot over 50% as a team for, I think, the last 4 years here. So just out of Princeton right here, you know, and again, you see we're not going ultra fast. It doesn't look like we're running with chickens with our head cut off. Now, this isn't a great cut by Shimonitz. This guy's getting ready to cut. He was our first-team All-American Conference Player of the Year this year. But what we teach these guys is when you tight curl is you want to get to the top of the arc, of the charge arc right there. You want to try to drive that guy back. Now, obviously, defense, you know, they're allowed to have position. You can't just run them over. But a lot of times our guys can just push and get them right down where we want and then just score down there. No, you know, Shimonitz did a great job. We try to post him up a lot. He's our point guard. But a lot of times he doesn't even need to dribble. So right here, now this time he does a better job of coming off this tight curl. The guy goes under.
So he was the guy. He started with the ball. He went dribble handoff so he could be the guy receiving the screen.
Yes. So,
okay.
Yep.
Number
so
10.
he dribbled handoff. And that's not obviously not a call or anything. That's just, you know, we call it diversifying our offense. A lot of times he'll just come down and he'll throw the other guy, brush cut through, and he'll make the pass to the pinch post. But then we like to mix it up. You dribble handoff, you know, hit the pinch post. Now this time, and we think with the tight curl, if the guy either goes nose and back, you should be able to kind of post him up. Or if he goes under, you know, we want to run right at him and try to get him at the top of the arc. So right here he goes under. Shimonitz does a great job. That's exact. We tell our guys to post up in the middle of the lane. And right there, you know, again, Shimonitz gets the ball and can go to work. Now on this one right here, you know, another dribble handoff, hit the pinch post right here. Now on this, there's a switch, and we tell our guys, if there's a switch, you run right at the guy. Don't try to avoid him. You run right at the guy and post him up. So here's a switch, and he runs right at the guy. Now this time a little farther out, takes one dribble and scores. Oh, see a little defense there. Get a stop.
You guys are really getting out after him.
Zone. We make him shoot from 28 feet right there. Now right here, you'll see Jack Hiller. He's the closest to you in the screen. Yep. He's our 6'6" two guard. He's going to see the matchup that he has right here, and he likes it. So you'll see as he's getting close to the three-point line, he's going to call for it. All right, he wants the ball. And like I said, I think our guys really like to post up. So you'll see him down here just wave. Hey, Shim, come my way a little bit. So now Shim knows he's just going to brush this guy through. And even though Clay right there could probably shoot the ball, try to drive it, I mean, he's really set on throwing the ball into the post. And we get a great matchup right there, and we're able to score. Now, I put this in not just so you can see somebody. I think Clay does a great job on this. Clay's the one down in the corner. Run right at the guy. They switch. But also that you can see Clay's the one that threw the pass the last time down. He was playing the 5 position. All right, now he's out on the perimeter, and we have a different guy playing the 5 position. So we're going to run. They're going to switch, and he's playing really deep. And Clay, although he's skinny, does a great job of just going down there and getting great position.
That looked like a young Dale Wellman with a quick off 2 feet dunk.
Yeah, it really does.
You probably taught him that once he got to campus.
Yeah. Now, so what we had is, so we do these tight curls, and we wanted to make sure that we added something. So when what we call a vacuum cut, when some people might say reject that split screen, to be able to post up, to give guys the opportunity to post up off of a vacuum cut. So we came up with this, what we call hop in front. It's not too creative of a term, but I think you'll see this a little bit. So right here, Nate Baugh's the guy. He's cutting in the very corner by our bench. And you're going to see he's going to have a hard cut, and the defender's going to have to be moving hard with him. And he stops on a dime and hops in front. Boom, hops in front, and then Nate Ball probably has the best footwork in the post and went to work right there. So you'll see it out of, our point action right here. We're going to run at, reject it, and just hop in front. So the defender's just cutting hard with that guy, and that's fine. If we can't get the pass, kind of the backdoor pass, stop, hop in front. And again, we're trying to post right in the middle of the lane. That's what we tell our guys. And if they don't get that, we'll hit the guy who stepped back. That guy will go to the opposite block, and then we'll get into either dribble handoff or ball screen action with the down screen on the opposite side. So here, Jack, great cut, hops right in front. Everybody collapsed that time. That's fine. Collapse, kick right back out. Now, another thing that we kind of put in, and we used to put it in as a call, and it's kind of become, and we were really fortunate last year. We played a lot of seniors. They kind of understand when they can do this, and they just kind of know. So Sheminitz is cutting right here, and he's going to recognize that he can kind of go high-low with the guy that's guarding him. No one's above him, and he just stops in the paint off of that brush cut. And right here, like last time, we passed out when everyone collapsed down. Sheminitz, ball down in the paint. He's not going to pass it right there. And this is when all those reps with the pad and us fouling them with the pad and everything and finish really pay off. As you can see, 4 guys are wide open, but Sheminitz takes care of business and scores right there.
He was your point guard.
He was our point guard. No, he was he was a 2,000-point scorer for us. Hit the big game, big shot, national championship, game-winning shot in the Sweet 16, conference player of the year. He's an unbelievable player. So here we're coming down, and you'll see here. I'll go back a little bit. So, our 4-man here is going to be the one with the brush cut, and he does a great job right here. Just kind of recognizing it and throwing that leg around on the brush cut and being able to post up. And if he didn't get it, that's fine. He would just get out to the
And is that a call?
It used to be. And, next year when we'll have a lot of freshmen and sophomore playing, we might have to go back to it. But the past 2 years, we haven't needed to do that. Our guys could recognize that and post up right there. And then if they don't have the pass, he would just continue out to the corner in the normal action and keep on going whether we went, over or away. Sheminitz again. And this is one of the – and Nate Ball does a great job right here. Like I said, I think even though he's 6'3", I think he has the best feet in the post. Just coming back, best moves. I think he does a really nice job for us. Now, another thing that we really try to emphasize, getting away from that a little bit, is what we have ended up calling Coop's Corner. This was something, even though we ran some Princeton type of stuff at Alfred, we never really hit. And then Cooper Cook came along. He was a big recruit for us out of Kansas City. He was MVP of the Final Four. He was actually Conference Player of the Year as a sophomore. Ended up as, I believe, the 3rd all-time leading three-point shooter at our school. Never took a single 3 in high school. Was a back-to-the-basket 5-man, got on campus and realized he was one of the best shooters I've ever coached. So a lot of times he was the trail guy that we would, send as the brush cutter through to the corner. Now what we taught these guys is if a lot of times Coop, who might have been our biggest guy on the floor, was guarded by a big guy. So if he was to stay in the paint to kind of clog it up for the vacuum cut or the tight curl, we try to skip the ball over to the corner for a 3. And this is something that we've really taken advantage of a lot. And if we can hit shot early in the game, it really opens up the lane later on. So here you can see it. That split action's coming. Garver, who's our 5-man right there, just finds Coop. So we just, whatever it was, 6 years ago, we started calling it Coop's Corner because he just made a living off of these shots. And then, we just started emphasizing it and getting a lot more. Again, big man staying in the lane. He's got a foot. Garv sees it, passes it over for the 3. Another defensive possession right here, gets a stop. And again, you see, this team right here, I think averaged, 91, 92 points. But it's not like we're super fast in transition. But we get right into it, and I think we score pretty quickly. We send the rub cutter through, brush cutter. They switch it, and the big guy really stays right in the middle of the paint. And there's Clay making a big shot for us. This time we actually – so in Princeton, one thing that we do occasionally just to mix stuff up, we call this just push. So we push everybody over and just have a naked cut up to the pinch post right there. Simpson was kind of running a matchup zone against us, and they kept having the guy who passed the ball would end up going to go get the guy at the pinch post, which left 3-on-2 on the opposite side. And here you can see the big guy's 2 feet in the paint. The guy who would have been the brush cutter if we had sent him through, but because we pushed it, he was just standing there, is open, for another 3. And that's just a great read by Garv. The guy who made all those passes, Ryan Garver, he played the 5. Like I said, everybody kind of gets in there. But as the 5-man, he led the country in assists 2 years ago. He averaged 7.7 assists as a 5-man. So over the top backdoors. One thing that we found, I think, is, you hear Princeton a lot, and you think, backdoor cuts and bounce passes. One hand kind of push pass, bounce passes. What we've taught our guys is let's throw it over top. We think that guys are more comfortable making that pass. We think it's kind of like a quarterback and a wide receiver with a defensive back on them. We think it makes it easier to kind of put it in that square where they can catch and finish with it. So here you see some of our offense. We go low post series, return it right here. We get to 5 out. And this one dribble Clay has, and I'll run it back so you can see it. I don't think that's a lot of space, and I don't think you can get it there on a bounce pass. But we think because we throw it up with a little arc, he's able to catch and finish. So that's one thing we've really tried to teach our guys is on backdoors, throw it with a little arc. Be a quarterback throwing it to a wide receiver. There you see offensive rebounds. This is actually kind of a push right here. We don't have a brush cutter. And just on that little punch on this return right here, the space is not big, but we practice that enough that we're able to get it. The defender doesn't even realize it's coming. Same thing right there. Defender, I don't think he knew it was coming because it was in the air. We're able to catch and finish. This one right here I think is actually pretty easy read, pretty open, but just another opportunity. That's something that we really try to get. Really belaboring player. It's really something.
No, but the guy's throwing it from pretty far away. That's obviously you have to work on that quite a bit.
Yeah, we work on it a lot. The one time we do talk about putting the ball on the ground for a backdoor is if you're running at the guy with the ball and you get denied. And that's one time. So I put some in here, some good reads. Oh, here's another defensive. 3 for 3 on stops here.
Tell you what, you guys locking people up.
So right here, we're getting into our Princeton. We have the brush cutter right here. Now we hit the pinch post. We go over. Now this guy makes the read to come off. And it's going to be a handoff. And then we kind of get a pin in on the opposite side. But the guy hops out. They switch, hop out, and deny it. So Jack does the right thing. Whenever you're running at the ball and someone denies it, boom, you stop on a dime and go back door, and that's where we lay it on the ground. So just kind of see that. We'll go here. And again, here it is, not playing crazy fast, but we're scoring within, 2-3 passes. So here we return it. That's where we were throwing that pass earlier. Now, this is the brush cutter that went through, and he went a little early on this, but I think we do a good job. He goes through. First guy goes through. This guy is running up to deny. that's fine. If you're running at the ball for a dribble handoff and they deny, you go backdoor, and that's where we like to put it on the ground, right there for a backdoor. So, one other thing I wanted to kind of show here was what we say, ball talks a little bit, and we switch this up every few games. So we'll get in this 5 out. You've seen the 5 out a couple times. So here's the 5 out. This time, when we dribble at a guy, our action this game, and we can have something different going left than when we go right, was to go down, screen the guy, come off for a dribble handoff. We get that little, we call it pin in flare on the opposite side, and then he'll slip it. We got 2 easy points there. So I'll kind of run that back so you can see it. I have 2 guys going one way, our slipper goes the other. And then here we are, when we end up getting into our 5 out here, we're going low post series out of Princeton, return it, ended up getting it. Now, this, we had a different call this game. So this is something we're always trying to mix up. We really want to be hard to scout. We think Princeton's hard, and then we try to mix it up, and we'll have about 6 different things that we mix up every few games. But once we go to 5 out here, now it's a dribble at. We punch cut this, and now we'll go diagonal up screen the screener. Just so we're being different every couple games.
So every couple games, only when you get to the 5 out alignment, then that.
Yeah, well, for that now, it's interesting that you say that, because there are a few other times, where we'll return something, and like right here, like Shim returns it here. So here what we call return, where we get that punch cut. Here we go to 5 out. We'll also do it where he'll return it right there. We'll get the punch cut, and then what we call a caboose action. The next guy comes for the dribble handoff, and then our 5-man right here will come and set a ball screen, and then we get a down screen on the opposite side. So we even mix up that, whether we're going to get to our 5 out or whether we'll go to, some dribble handoff into a caboose action. So we'll mix it up, especially once we get into conference. We'll mix it up even more just because those guys have seen it so much. So that's some different stuff that we do.
It's good.
Yeah. So, that's kind of what, if you want more, I got some more clips.
What's the brush drive? Show me what your brush drive is. What was it?
Yeah, where was it? Coop's Corner. So what we did with the let's find those brush drives. Okay, so what we did with this, so we send this guy through. So it was a different way. We had some guys, like I said, in 2016, we shot 1,100 threes, and we had some guys that could really shoot the basketball. We didn't have, one of the reasons we were shorter, we couldn't post up, and we couldn't get to the rim. I think the team that we've had the past 3 or 4 years, we've been able to post up and we've been able to get to the rim. So what's some ways we can get our guys to the rim? So we send this brush cutter through, and actually Nate Ball goes to the wrong side here. When we're in this series, he sees last minute he's supposed to get to the opposite block and not go to the pinch post. And we just drive the basketball. So it just opens up a huge lane. You'll see it right here with Shimonitz. Send the brush cutter through and a huge lane just to work that entire side. So it's just kind of dribble drive motion to kind of start. And then we can still get into our Princeton action. If a guy comes over and stops, hey, then we're dishing it right to our 5, just like those, dribble drive motion principles right there to finish. So it's nothing too crazy here. Shimonitz was really good, and his backup point guard, Austin Hall, for 4 years, really good at driving and passing, and it was really good for us. So if we do the brush drive right here and we don't have it, So we're not going to have it every time. Then we're just into, jungle action where we're sending our guy up to the elbow, and then we're either going over or away with our Princeton concepts.
You always, when you're in jungle action and the handoff, do you always flare on the backside?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yep, we do. We just call it like, we feel like that offensive guy, he doesn't even really have to move. He just kind of stands there and the guy comes in. We call it the pin in flare. And then he can slip it if they fight over it or if they switch it. But yeah.
So you got a guy in the slot, you got a guy in the corner. The guy in the corner comes in for the pin and flare. And the guy in the slot pretty much stays.
He doesn't really have to move a lot.
Right.
He really doesn't. So it's one of those things where, that guy's looking at the guy, we think driving, he's worried about him. So if he has his head turned kind of looking that way, we don't think that guy has to move too much. He doesn't have to run away from the ball. And if that guy is too close where we can't throw the ball, then hopefully the alley's wide enough where we might be able to get hip to hip and drive and get to the rim. So here, another time, just coming down. This time we go over, tight curl, finish right there.
So there, in that case, that tight curl, if it didn't lead to the layup, that guy would leg whip or hop in front to post.
Yes.
And would they always do it?
And that's go ahead, I'm sorry.
Would they always post at the end, or sometimes they just keep running out to space?
No, that's a good question. No, sometimes they don't. So the opportunity to post is there every single time if you want it. If you don't have it, that's fine. Like on that right here, Dylan's the one that makes the cut over top. If he hadn't got the ball right there, he might not have been in a good position to post. So that's fine. Then he would just stay on that block right there. We would get either dribble at, handoff, double backdoor with the guy who popped back, or we'd hit him ball screen, and then we actually get the down screen on the opposite side. Some people would just kind of space out to the corner, but we'll keep the guy on the block, and part of that's because we like to post in the middle. So then if you don't have it, if you don't get the post, he's just going, 4 feet away, and we get the down screen, keep those defenders occupied.
So you're saying the guy who just made the curl cut.
Yeah.
And if he posts, if he doesn't get the post, he might get the down screen, like a wing down screen.
Right. So we instead of
going out to
stopping
space,
people tight curl or whatever, or reject that split screen, if they don't get anything, they'll just space out to the corner. But we like to keep that guy in there. Number one, opportunity to post, but if he doesn't, then he's just close to where he needs to be to kind of get this down screen once this action happens over here.
Okay.
And it gets back to the ball talk.
So I think, one interesting question, obviously a lot of layers to this offensively, which requires a lot of repetition, a lot of drill, a lot of reads. Is that why you've made the switch to play zone?
That's a great question. And that is not the reason that I went to play zone, but it is definitely a huge benefit from us going to play zone. The reason we went to play zone, I'll try not to bore you too much with it, but it was the national championship year in 2018. We had just lost the game. We were 17-3. At the time, we were number one in the country in field goal percentage. We were number one in offensive efficiency. We were top 5 in points per game, averaging whatever it was, 90-some-odd points a game. I thought offensively we were really good, but we had lost 2 of our 3 games in overtime, games that I thought we probably should have won, and we just didn't get the stops that we needed to. We'd always had this 3-2. I had an assistant when I first got the job here, Tyler Ackley, who's at Colby College now as an assistant, and he played at Scotia in New York, and Scotia was known, having this 3-2 zone. So we'd always had it in for certain situations, maybe out of a timeout when we knew the other team was going to run it. So going into the next game against it was Coe College, actually. I told my guys, I said, hey, we're going to play man the first half, so they can't talk about zone at halftime. We're going to come out regardless of what the score is. Second half, we're going to come out. We're going to play, our 3-2. And we did that. And we were up by like 1 or 2 at halftime. But I think Co was shooting like 55%. Came out second half, and I think we ended up winning by like 15 or 16 points. And it was right then that we made the decision, that was the first win. The next 12 games, the end of the regular season, conference tournament, and all the NCAA tournament, we just went zone, 3-2, every possession, every single possession. And it was great. What we found was a lot of the teams that we play, we always said it was an easy and a hard scout. It was an easy scout because they hadn't played against a 3-2 all year. It was something different. But it was hard because you really had to focus in at the beginning of the game to see how a team was going to attack it. Because we weren't sure going into games how teams were really going to attack the 3-2. And then we stuck with it, and it was good. We thought the combination of teams having to get ready to prepare for the Princeton and the different zone that they haven't necessarily seen a lot of was really advantageous. And then we stuck with it the next year. We won the national championship. We only had one senior, and those guys felt really confident with the 3-2. So we stuck with it, the next year. And it's been really good for us. And we've had some long guys, and definitely a positive has been, hey, we can work on man 80% of our man offense, 80% of practice.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits, right? For sure.
And I tell you this, I think this is a benefit too, is, we don't get zoned a lot, even though we run Princeton. And part of it, I think we have some good shooters, but we go against zone, even though it's a 3-2, not necessarily 1-1 or a 2-3, but we go against zone every single day in practice. So, if you throw a zone at us, our guys are used to that. They've seen that. And I don't think it has kind of a mental effect on, hey, team's not running man. I think they go out there and we do different things. We're more of a motion team in zone, but our guys are used to it, and they practice plenty against the zone.
Right. Yeah. That's good stuff. A lot of great things to take from this, Dale. Just different ways. I think the big thing is, like when we texted back and forth, it's what you emphasize. So somebody else out of the Princeton, after they go backdoor, may do something completely different. After they go with the rub screen or the run at or whatever you call it, jungle, whatever people call it, what are the reads? I personally am very, very intrigued by you having different actions that change from game to game based on, one cue, that is, I hadn't heard that before. That's very unique, I think.
Well, and I will say it was easy the past few years because we really played a lot of experienced guys, and we might not be as complex next year with all that because we will play, younger guys. We'll be a little younger team next year. But a lot of those guys have seen it and understand the concepts and why we're doing it. A lot of the guys that will be playing, that is. So we'll obviously stick with some of it, and then obviously get to more, later on in the year. Definitely the year after that.
Oh, that's good. It's great stuff. Dale, your email address, which I already bungled, trying to send you the Zoom invite, which didn't shock you. So it's dwellman at NEBR Wesleyan.edu.
You got it. That's it.
dwellman at NEBR Wesleyan.edu. So if people have more questions, they can email you and get some more information on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've this pandemic, if one of the good things that has come out of it, obviously I'd rather not have a pandemic, but it's an opportunity just to talk to a lot of new coaches about offense. And I mean, I can talk offense all day. I mean, that's just kind of the way I'm wired, talk offense. So feel free. I've got plenty of emails and calls and I'll talk offense all day long.
That's good. Great stuff. Dale, thanks so much for your time. I don't know what your wife says, but I think the beard looks just fine for you. So you keep that.
I'm developing a double chin, so it actually, I think, hides it pretty well.
Yeah.
So I think she might like it for that. Actually, I think it's getting a little long.
It's getting a little long.
For her liking a little bit.
A lot of gray in there. A lot of gray in there, buddy.
It was really disappointing to see all the gray. The mustache came in pretty good. It was dark, and then everything else. It was
what the pot.
Yeah, it was disappointing, but it's part of it, you know.
Yep,
getting older.
Yep, absolutely.
Very distinguished.
Yeah, distinguished. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time, and look forward to continuing to do this again.